Hello?
Yeah, hi, Nick.
Hey, Senator, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing as best as anyone can right now,
All
sir.
right, that's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah. I was just reading while I was waiting for you a CNN article, and I'm trying to find it now. Homeland Security and the FBI did just issue that public service announcement today about China launching cyber attacks looking for coronavirus and vaccine data. What ultimately, and I did read a little bit of your press release or letter from your office, what ultimately do you want the federal government to do about this right now?
Well, there's no question related to the public reports that folks are saying that the Chinese government has been engaged in cyber attacks on sites related to the development of a COVID-19 vaccine. There has been hacking related, according to the public sources, of both government sites as well as hospitals and other kinds of medical institutes that are working on a vaccine. This is clearly unacceptable behavior on the behalf of the Chinese government. They need to stop it. We need to call them out that this is simply unacceptable. And if they don't stop, then I think we should take other actions as well related to whether it's sanctions or other kinds of punishment for this type of activity. But it's simply unacceptable. We need to be tough on the Chinese government. They have to stop this activity.
That article also talked about some U.S. allies like South Korea are starting to engage in the same thing. Are you worried at all about worldwide escalation in this type of espionage or hacking as we move on forward in the COVID-19 vaccine search?
Well, I am. I'm worried about this, and certainly we know there is a race to develop a vaccine. Every country wants to be the first to have that, but I also think we need to be working together. Because we've got to make sure that we develop a vaccine as quickly as possible and get it out. And I think we need to be thinking comprehensively about that, not just in developing the vaccine, but also how we're actually going to deliver that vaccine to hundreds of millions of folks here in the United States as well as globally. That's why I'm particularly concerned and have now reached out to the administration that we need to have a plan to deal with some critical medical supplies related to the vaccine. And those are things like syringes and needles and the vials to be able to deliver the doses. We can't be waiting to do that until we have a vaccine, because when we get the vaccine and after it's been tested for safety and efficacy, we've got to then produce hundreds of millions of doses and get it to people all across the country. We need to make sure the supplies are intact right now. We already are way too dependent on foreign countries for critical medical supplies. I wrote a report last year as the ranking member on Homeland Security in the Senate saying that we are dependent on foreign countries for both drugs and for life-saving medical supplies. And I wrote in that report, when there's a pandemic, we're going to be in trouble in the United States, and we've seen that. When it comes to personal protection equipment, most of that is produced overseas, China primarily. Things like nasal swabs necessary for us to do the kind of testing that's absolutely critical. We only have one manufacturer in the United States that makes that. So we've had to go all across the globe to try to find it. And certainly all the other countries are trying to do the same thing. It's clear we need to take back production from China. We have to take it back, make it here in the United States. And I think that goes for the vaccine. We have to right now make sure we're making the syringes and needles and other supplies necessary for us to deliver hundreds of millions of doses of this vaccine.
Okay, Senator, I want to ask you about your Heroes Fund proposal. Two questions on that. One, where is that in the process moving along right now? Is that something you're hopeful and optimistic can become law? And second question, who's eligible? Because there's some essential services, like I'm just going to say journalism, we are considered essential, but nowhere near in as much danger as someone who works at a meatpacking facility.
Right. Well, I'm very pleased that the HEROES proposal is continuing to gain traction here in Washington. In fact, the House proposal that just came out basically has a HERO proposal very similar to the one that I've been proposing. That will hopefully get passed out of the House, and then it will come to the Senate. And I think it's still a work in progress as to how we define who those essential employees are. But these are folks who are doing jobs that must get done in order for our society to function. And we think certainly of our healthcare professionals, nurses and doctors, but it's also the janitors who are cleaning a hospital to make sure that it's sterile and can can be used to help treat patients. It means folks working in grocery stores and our food supply chain. It means our postal workers, our first responders. These are folks who genuinely need hazard pay because they are doing an essential job and put themselves and their families at risk. The House proposal is similar. It would provide an additional bonus of $13 per hour on top of what essential necessary workers are earning. And we hope that we're going to be able to continue this discussion as that bill comes over to the House, or over to the Senate from the House.
All right, if I've got about 30 more seconds, just one last question. What realistically do you think are the chances of another stimulus bill getting through Congress right now? What I'm hearing is that we probably won't see anything until June at the earliest, and that's probably optimistic.
Well, I think folks realize that we need to do more, and that has to happen. You're going to see the House act fairly quickly on a proposal. Will then come over to the Senate. Certainly, my hope is that we're going to be able to do this in a bipartisan way. The packages that have already passed, and they've been big, but we've come together in a bipartisan way, passed them unanimously, which is the way we should do this. We need to find common ground and pass that legislation. And I'm certainly hopeful we'll be able to do something again to deal with what are a variety of other challenges that continue to exist out there.
All right, Senator, I'm sure I'm over time. That's all the questions I had. I appreciate the time as always.
Great.
You and your family stay healthy and well, okay?
Yeah, you too. Stay safe. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.